As French President Emmanuel Macron begins his state visit to Korea this Thursday, attention is once again turning to the ties between Korea and France, with this year marking the 140th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the two countries. Much of this connection has been built through cultural exchange. So today, we'll explore how Korea and France have connected through culture with Chie Hye-won, culture critic and professor at Kyung Hee University. Welcome back, Professor Ji.
Hi, Professor.
Hello, good afternoon.
So French culture seems to be pretty present in everyday life here in Korea. We've got, for instance, this Seorae Village or Seorae Mall, not too far away from the station here.
Right.
And we can think of French cuisine and arts. So tell us a little bit more about that.
That's right. France is a somewhat familiar country to Koreans. Even those who never actually been to France, they have the concrete images in their minds. French streets like Champs-Élysées or Montmartre Hills and Eiffel Tower, or food like wine and croissants and everything. So therefore, rather than feeling like a distant country, France feels like a country that has already entered into our daily lives. So as you just mentioned, the Seorae Village is famous for being a place where you can actually experience the French atmosphere. So it features Montmartre Park and promotes the French culture through French schools, French restaurants, and even festivals.
And just as like French culture has kind of got into the daily lives in Korea, vice versa, there has been efforts made where Korean culture is shown in the French as well. In 2024, the Korea season showcased Korean culture across France. So in your view, what kind of impact does this initiative have on the cultural exchange?
Right, Korea season, hosted by the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism of Korea and organized by the Korean Foundation for International Cultural Exchange, KOFIS, is significant is that it allows for the intensive and diverse exposure of a wide range of Korean culture. For example, the 2024 Korea season was held in conjunction with the French Olympics. And before that, the imagery of Korean culture in France was strongly centered like a K-pop or K-dramas and K-films. However, through the Korea season, a much wider variety of genres, including traditional arts, or contemporary dance, or visual arts, and literature, were exposed simultaneously. So this goes beyond the simple promotion and serves as an opportunity to concrete perception that Korean culture is not just the specific genres, but a cultural history and trend. So I think the Korea season 2024 is a kind of the like a turning point that French people feels more like a Korean culture.
Now, let's talk about performing arts, your expertise, Professor Ji. So many French works have been adapted or reinterpreted in Korea.
Right.
So which ones are popular and why are they resonating with the Korean people?
Right. In Korea, musicals that actually premiered in France and consistently being loved. The longest running production is Notre Dame de Paris. So following the domestic debut of its touring production in 2005. It's 21 years ago. Wow. And both the licensed productions and touring productions continue to be performed in Korea. Among French musicals, works like Don Juan and Napoleon have also been staged in Korea. And currently, the licensed production of Romeo and Juliet is being performed at Hanjeon Arts Center. Actually, it is near from us. It's Yangjae-yeok. It's near Yangjae-yeok. So in addition to this, the musicals like Les Miserables, like the masterpiece by the great French writer Victor Hugo, continue to be loved in Korea and everywhere else, actually. And the Korean original musical, The Man Who Laughs, 웃는 남자, is another show produced by EMK Musical Company and also highly successful work. And actually, it's returning very soon, in June. And Marie Curie is another one, another Korean original musical, also deals with historical French background because it covers the life of Marie Curie, a scientist who was Polish but active in France.
So many familiar titles I hear. So we are talking about these two countries, Korea and France, but they do have differences in culture. But sometimes these differences actually play a role in, connection or exchange. So what are some of the points related to that?
Right, that's true. There is a perception that Korea and France are quite different countries from a cultural perspective. If the Korea's strengths are said to be its fast and dynamic content trend and the fandom-driven consumption and well-structured industrial systems, then France can be characterized by the long-standing artistic traditions and the artist-centered body of work. However, the interesting thing is that these differences actually make the cultural exchange even more intriguing. Another interesting point is that culture is not transmitted as it is, but is always transformed at some point when the French works, as we just mentioned, like the musicals, which was performing in Korea. When they come to Korea, their sensibilities become clearer and their narratives become slightly more accessible to the Korean people, can more related to the work. And conversely, when Korean content goes to France, it is interpreted not merely as popular culture, but as a cultural phenomenon. So I think it is important that Korea and France cultural exchange is not because they are similar, but because they are different, more interesting and meaningful exchange are created.
And another category of exchange is film. And Korean films have been consistently gaining attention at Cannes, one of the world's most prestigious film festivals. So would you say the global presence of Korean films still exists there? I believe the status of Korean cinema remains strong. So, however, it is more accurate to say that it is entered a stage of a stable presence from a period of explosive rise. So the Cannes Film Festival in France is one of the most influential stage in the global film industry. The Korean film have consistently received attention for quite a long time. Director Bong Joon-ho's Parasite was picked, but the momentum, I don't think the momentum stopped there. So, however, at the entire film industry increasingly shifted toward the OTT market. So I believe Korean film also needs to more sophisticated strategy for the global market.
And along with K-films, there's also K-contents as well. So we do want to talk about this. Recently, Korean dramas or streaming contents, even webtoons have been gaining a lot of popularity in France. So we see like title Squid Games, When Life Gives You Tangerines, have been, in the charts in France, French Netflix as well. So what do you think makes these Korean content so appealing to French people?
Yeah, when we discuss why Korean contents such as dramas or webtoons is gaining popularity in France, changes in digital-based platforms or distribution structures would be the most important reasons. However, the more fundamental reason can be seen as whether the stories contain universal themes that anyone around the world can be related to. So, for example, Squid Game is based on the emotions that resonate in any society, such as competitive society or the class disparity, and more important, survivor. And in that case, when life gives you tangerine as well, emotional resonance around the cultural boundaries was possible. So in addition to this, another type of content we should watch was webtoons. So since France is one of the largest country, the comic market is large in Europe. So there is almost no resonance to the webtoon format itself. So as a result, works like solo leveling, the 나 혼자만 level up, have gained great popularity there, and Korean webtoons are being consumed as the distinct genres.
Well, let's do hope that Korean content will expand their presence in France, and let's see how this is going to evolve in the future. Well, thank you very much, Professor Z. That's all the time we have today. Hope to see you very soon.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Bella. As always, we're going to have you here next week.
Yes, I'll see you back next week.